Good morning. General Counsel, is there a quorum? Yes, Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Good morning. I am Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, who unfortunately the Lieutenant Governor cannot make it to today's meeting due to an unforeseen family medical situation. She sends her best and she wants to thank everyone, particularly the IHCDA team, for their hard work and dedication. I am calling to order this December 2024 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors here at the Volunteers of America Fresh Start Recovery Center in Evansville. We are meeting pursuant to this board's policy for participation by members of the IHCDA Board of Directors in board meetings by simultaneous electronic communication. This means that only 3 members must be physically present at the site of the meeting and the remaining members may call in. There will be an audio feed for the general public so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be a link to a video recording posted on IHCDA's website next month. At the time the motions are being made, each board member that makes a motion must state his or her first and last name for the record. The votes will then be tallied by roll call. I will now take a roll call of the board members to confirm members who are present and their location. Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, here in person. Mark Pascarella, designee for State Public Finance Director Dan Hughey.
Present in the room in Evansville, Indiana.
Daniel Elliott, Treasurer of State.
Present in the room.
Board Member G. Michael Shopmeyer.
Present in beautiful Evansville, Indiana.
Board Member Andy Place Sr.
Present remote.
Board Member Chad Greiwe.
Present remote.
Board Member Tom McGowan. Not here, correct? Okay. Moving along, we have a couple of folks here joining us, special guests. First up, please welcome John Von Arts, the President and CEO of Volunteers of America for Indiana and Ohio. Hi, John.
Well, welcome everyone. This is very exciting. Thank you, Ann. It's an honor for you to be here at Volunteers of America's Fresh Start, Recovery Center. It's hard to believe it was 5.5 years ago that this board inspired a major event to have Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch here just in this very room, cutting the ribbon for this great facility. And it's a place where families heal and recover together. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we do here, but that 5.5 years ago moment, the ribbon cutting that allowed us to kick off this great special program that IHCDA's board helped support and really made possible is so exciting. And the fact that to be here today with all of you is hard to describe. So a little bit about Volunteers of America. We are a health, housing, and community services and human services organization. And this is Fresh Start. This is our very important Evansville program, our Fresh Start Recovery Center here. And it is a family focused residential recovery center focusing on those with substance use disorder, and residential treatment is for women, moms, and moms-to-be. And it's a program that's very unique because it allows moms to have their children with them during treatment, and something that has inspired a great deal of success among the clients that we serve and a model across the country. We are helping strengthen families and improve birth outcomes. Our connection with IHCDA's board has been extraordinary, and we are so grateful for your investment in the important aspects of supporting those that are very desperately needing that type of housing and support that you have provided and helped support here at Fresh Start in Evansville. We are so excited about the innovation about something called the Wings Fund that helped create our program here in Evansville. Welcoming Indiana's next generation is the acronym that Executive Director Sipe created for the Wings Fund. And it's an opportunity for each community to receive a special donation that goes to support other programs in the communities that they serve in perpetuity. So it is so very exciting. And thinking back 5.5 years ago, we had Lieutenant Governor Crouch, we had the FSSA Secretary, we had the Indiana Department of Child Services Director, we had the Indiana Drug Czar, we had Director Sipe cutting the ribbon. And 5.5 years later, we have served 335 women and children in this program. We are so excited and so grateful for all of you and for your board and your support. We'd like to recognize and very sorry to hear about the Lieutenant Governor's situation that prevents her from being here. But her dedication to the state, we know, is nothing short of extraordinary. Her special focus on those, an unwavering commitment to those struggling with mental health and substance use disorder is something that is very special to those of us at Volunteers of America, an organization that's been around since 1896. But her tireless advocacy for mental health and substance use disorders around the community, around the state, is something that we really admire in such a great way. We wanted to create a special recognition for the Lieutenant Governor. The fact that she has focused on the services that are in such great need, not just to make them available, but accessible, and to reduce the stigma and to foster a culture of support throughout our communities. So on behalf of Volunteers of America, we wanted to recognize Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch for all of the lives that she has saved, 335 women and children in this location alone, and present her with Volunteers of America's Compassionate Service Award. And we hope that you will bring that back to her. In closing, we're just so grateful for all that you have done, the innovation that you have provided in support of saving so many Hoosier lives, this being just one great example. So thank you for being here, for the opportunity to speak with you. If I may, this service award here, I'd just like to, I don't know if you're going to get through there. Sorry. Thank you so much to you, the Lieutenant Governor, and to this board for all that you've done in making these 335 women and children happier and healthier.
Thank you so much, John. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
On behalf of the Lieutenant Governor, I just want to say this is the work she's most proud of as she finishes up her 8 years. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, next up, please welcome Sydney Hardgrave, Regional Director of Engagement and Impact with the Vandenberg Community Foundation.
Thank you.
Good morning.
I do want to just again start with good morning. I work for the Vandenberg Community Foundation, and we manage the endowment that the Volunteers of America established as part of bringing this recovery program into our community. It's truly a pleasure to be here this morning and see so many people invested in the good work that's being done. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Community Foundation structure, we are a nonprofit entity that partners with private donors to establish and maintain endowed gifts. Donations from our fund founders are strategically invested to ensure the perpetuity of the fund's value and provide resources to grant for charitable activities that align with the donor's values. Through the establishment and maintenance of these endowments, the Vandenberg Community Foundation is focused on ensuring charitable resources are available to help our community for generations to come. It has been a great pleasure to collaborate with Volunteers of America to establish the Welcoming Indiana's Next Generation, or WING, Endowment Fund. This is an unrestricted endowment focused on improving the quality of life for Evansville's next generation. The fund was created in October 2019. Since that time, over $26,000 has been granted to community organizations benefiting our local youth. The fund will continue to support our unrestricted grant making in perpetuity at an estimated annual amount of $35,000. The WING Fund annual disbursements support the Vandenberg County Community Foundation's grants through annual community good grant cycles. With the desire to support Evansville's next generation, this fund, in combination with our other endowments, has supported grants to 24 local organizations serving youth and families. The services supported through these grants include after-school programming, arts and recreational activities, children in foster care, early childhood education, mental health services, mentoring programs, school-based support services, services for victims of child abuse and domestic violence, and therapy services for children with physical and developmental disabilities. In addition, numerous grants support families experiencing economic hardship. These programs provide affordable housing, clothing support, including school uniforms, emergency shelter, food, newborn supplies, and the provision of beds and mattresses for children who would otherwise perhaps be sleeping on the floor or on a couch. It truly has been a pleasure for us to collaborate with Volunteers of America, and we are equally grateful for the support that's come through the IHCDA. Thank you for an opportunity this morning to share a little bit about the impact they have had through their wing fund. And we just look forward to our continued partnership and the amazing impact that they will have in our community.
Thank you so much. Well, now to the business we're here today for. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 21st, 2024 board meeting. Members have had those to review. Are there any changes or corrections to make to those meeting minutes?
Move for approval.
Who are you?
Mike Schallmeyer, here present.
Andy place second.
We have a motion and a second. I will now call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Brywe,
Aye.
and Valentine. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, please welcome Brennan Gerard and Mark Pascarella, who will present the 2025 IHCDA budget. Good morning, Brennan.
Good morning, Chair. Morning, Board. My name is Brennan Gerard, and I am the Controller and Director of Accounting for IHCDA. And I'm here today to present the 2025 budget. And I wanted to, first of all, start by thanking the Budget Committee. We met on December the 4th to go over the budget in detail. And we really appreciate their great questions. And I want to also make sure that we point out that Jake, Rich, and I are extremely grateful that we have a budget committee that understands the complexities of our operations. It makes our jobs so much easier. The approach that we took this year is the same as we've done in years past. This is a bottom-up approach. We talk to all of the program managers and administrative directors and find out what their needs are. We compile that information together to determine from a macro level if the general fund can adequately cover the needs of the programs and administrative departments. Even though we're experiencing a volatile economic market, we are anticipating a positive net result from operations to cover our needs, which is great news. We believe this approach has resulted in a very solid budget for 2025 and is both realistic and achievable. Turning our attention now to the insert for the budget itself, we've included, as in years past, an executive summary. This includes narrative on our base assumptions, as well as some of our larger variances. Moving on, we get to the actual statement of net position for the general fund, and our focus really is on the general fund because that is what is supporting the financial needs for programs and departments. And what you'll see here is starting at the top, our revenues we anticipate are going to decline compared to the 2024 budget. And really that's being driven by the anticipation of the Federal Reserve cutting the interest rates during 2025. Our total operating expenses are expected to remain relatively flat when compared to last year's budget. Some of our notable variances, we have salaries, wages, and taxes, which are projected to increase due primarily to an increase in base salaries to help us retain talent. Equipment and software continue to increase as we leverage more software to automate processes. Professional services expense has decreased due to some initiatives that were considered in 2024 that will not reoccur in 25. Program contributions are unfavorable primarily due to the closure of the IERA program and the Housing Assistance Fund in 2025. With the closure of these programs, IHCDA will need to cover administrative expenses necessary to closure and monitoring of the programs. Moving on from there, we've included for your consideration pages to detail revenues, professional services, and capital expenditures. Our focus this year on capital expenditure, for 25, the capital expenditure focus will be on added functionality for existing software. And the very last page is our combined budget for the general fund and federal and state programs. This budget excludes program revenue and benefit payments, which mostly offset each other. That was very quick and high level. So I'll pause at this time to see if anyone has any questions.
Any questions?
If not, I will hand it over to Mark and he will read the resolution.
Sure. I'll just add a couple of little quick comments here, just as a reminder, since we do this annually, how IHCDA does their budget, which actually I think is a big net positive for the organization. And I think it's what allows them to maintain their controls on cost and revenue, not only just, one-time shot when you do the budget, but also during the year. So they do have a bottom-up approach. So everyone's kind of within the organization invested in the budget. So they know that they have an impact. So therefore, all the managers are managing expenses. They're doing this on a monthly and reoccurring basis. So therefore, you're in a situation where if something's getting out of control, they can see it, manage it, deal with it appropriately. So I think that that's a huge plus for them. One of the other things I have written down here is they also focus on making sure the feds are paying as much as they possibly can, because as we're just talking about the one program, we're going to have to close it down without any Fed support. So that's going to have to be absorbed by IHCDA. So therefore, it's key to make sure we get all the Fed dollars we possibly can to help offset any costs that we're going to have to incur. By doing this, Jake, I know we always talk about it, this is run like a business. There's no relying just on, well, a state appropriation will just come bail us out so we can spend whatever we want to spend, because we can always pull that lever. This runs like a business with revenues actually coming in and expenses. So therefore, by doing that, you see the accountability that's done there. You see the accountability on managing expenses. And so therefore, when revenue can be very volatile, especially in the interest rate environment we are today, the one thing you can't control is expenses, and they do an excellent job on that. And while the number is not going to be as big as 2024 from a budget perspective, I'd like to remind everybody it's still going to be positive. It's going to be in the black, which I think is very good, especially when you have a lot of stuff that is happening that can, with the volatility of interest rates, knowing what's going to happen with your receivables, it can be difficult. So I think we're in a good situation. And I also like to remind people that the last two things. Well, number one, when I looked at the budget, there's nothing that stood out to me to be wrong or stick out like, well, I'm not sure why I understand that. Everything seemed to make sense as the management went through the explanations. And one thing I like to always remind too is that we consistently have had clean audits, and we hope to, knock on wood, continue that. But this is a well-run organization, not only from a budget perspective, but also when we get to doing our audits. I really feel that not only does the finance team play a major role and does the executive leadership, but every time we give them compliments, they then return those compliments to the entire staff, because they feel like everybody's bought in. And when you create a culture like that, that's when you see the results that we are getting from both a budget perspective and also an audit perspective. So I probably was long-winded there, and I apologize, but I wanted to give at least the take of the discussions that are going on in the budget committee. So transparency, everyone can hear what we're kind of discussing.
Great.
I'll stop there and ask any questions. Perfect. Well, then I'm going to read the resolution. And since this is coming from the budget committee and not from staff, this counts as the motion moved to approve. So we'll just need somebody to second it, and then we can do the board call. So the budget committee recommends the approval of the 2025 general operating budget as depicted in Exhibit A. And it's resolved that the board approve the proposed 2025 budget attached here to as Exhibit A as recommended by both staff and the audit committee.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mike
Andy,
Schottenheimer,
please,
second.
second. Oh, go ahead.
All good. Motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Ann Valentine, aye. Motion carries. Good work.
Very
Thank
much.
you. Next up, please welcome Richard Harcourt, who will present the Series 2025A bond recommendation. I think we missed you last month. You weren't on the docket at all, so thank you. Good to see you.
Madam Chair and Board, good morning. I'd actually real quickly, Brendan's comments about our budget committee. It's very comforting to have a budget committee that knows what we're doing, that pays attention to the numbers and has a second set of eyes on it. And we do really greatly appreciate that. Thank you. I am back again to present what's become a routine event every quarter, which is a resolution to seek approval to borrow both taxable and tax exempt funds to support our single family bond resolution. As you all know, a significant portion of what we do is help first time homeowners achieve home ownership. We do that by purchasing mortgages from participating lenders that have down payment assistance in it, and we finance the purchase of those mortgages by issuing tax exempt and taxable debt that is non-recourse to IHCDA's balance sheet. So this resolution looks a whole lot like the last 4 or 5 you have approved. It's requesting the ability to issue up to $250 million of non-recourse debt. I suspect this is going to look like the last 4 or 5 financings. We're going to borrow probably close to $200 million, probably in a 50-50 mix of taxable, tax exempt and indebtedness. This provides the authority for us to do variable rate debt financing. I don't anticipate that we'll need it in this financing. We haven't needed that for some time now, but if we do, we will consult with our friends at IFA and make sure they understand what we're doing. But this looks a whole lot like what you've been approving all last year. So I'll stop there and take questions.
Any questions? Hearing none, we'll hear your resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the issuance of the 2025 Series A bonds and related bond documents and disclosure documents as substantially funded in the form presented and authorized by any authorized officer to execute the same as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Mark Pascarella, move to approve.
Daniel Elliott seconds.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schotmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
and Valentine, aye. Motion carries. Next, you're going to present the VITA of Westfield bond recommendation.
Thank you. This is a resolution to request approval of the issuance of tax exempt indebtedness of $22,680,066. Non-recourse to our balance sheet for the support of the VITA of Westfield project, multifamily project. This is a project that you all approved last month. Coming out of the 25 A and B bond round, VITA of Westfield is located in Westfield, Indiana. It's new construction, affordable assisted living, 164 units, of which 30 are market rate and 134 are affordable. And this is in the 50 to 60% AMI range. Again, we're just seeking approval to be the issuer of tax exempt, non-recourse indebtedness, excuse me.
Okay, any questions? We will hear your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the Series 2025 multifamily housing revenue bonds, parentheses, VITA of Westfield project, close parentheses, pursuant to the resolution attached hereto as Exhibit A and as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Daniel Elliott motions for approval.
Do we have a second?
Mark Pascarella, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schotmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
I saw you wave, Andy. Didn't
Aye.
hear.
Okay,
There it comes.
sorry.
Chad Greiwe
Aye.
and Valentine, aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Please welcome Stephen Enns, who will present the program funding for the Indiana Foreclosure Prevention Network memo. Good morning.
Madam Chair, and good morning, Board. I'm Stephen Enns, coming to you today representing the Asset and Preservation Department within Financial Operations. And I want to take just a moment of your time to talk about the Indiana Foreclosure Prevention Network and give a proposal which will guide the IFPN for the next couple of years. The Indiana Foreclosure and Prevention Network was initiated in 2009 by an act of Indiana General Assembly, and IHCDA was tasked to guide, manage, and to support financially also the network. Over the course of that past 15 years, the network has provided foreclosure prevention counseling, along with assistance in implementation of the Hardest Hit Fund and the Homeowner Assistance Fund. The Hardest Hit Fund was wrapped up about 3 years ago, and the Homeowner Assistance Fund right now is coming to a close, has come to a close actually. And that leaves the main tool for the network to be foreclosure prevention counseling. And with the state of foreclosures having taken a brief hiatus during COVID, there was a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. But after that moratorium was lifted, foreclosures came back to a level not quite like they were prior to COVID, but that's in large part thanks to the Homeowner Assistance Fund. So now without that funding available, the counseling is the main tool that we have. And so with that in mind, we released a request for qualifications on October 25th of this year, and we received 9 applications from various agencies around the state, and all were deemed to be eligible. The primary proof of eligibility is that they are all HUD certified as housing counseling organizations, and that they have staff who are also individually certified as HUD housing counselors. And whereas each of these agencies has a local presence and a local office, each one of the agencies will be assigned households to counsel and to serve regardless of their geographic location. Based upon that level of foreclosures that we have seen over the course of the years, we expect to see roughly 8,000 foreclosures per year. And we would anticipate seeing roughly 20% of those coming to the agencies looking for counseling. And it is upon that basis that I would request your approval today for a fee basis budget of $725,000 per year for the next 2 years. As we go forward with this service, the key performance indicators that we will track are, first, the total number of families served. Second, the type of counseling services that are provided, whether that's financial, whether that's more standard homeowner counseling. Third, we will look at the outcomes, which in the best case scenario would be the number of families which have basically gotten their budgets in hand and gotten back on track. Another outcome may be that they've decided that owning this home is not really in their best interest and they've decided to sell and move to another location. A third might be a loan modification and restructure of that mortgage. And the fourth, the outcome we don't look for, we hope to avoid, is a foreclosure or a sheriff's sale. And finally, we would track also the number of foreclosures that we have avoided. And so it is with that in mind that I present to you our recommendation as staff for the approval of a $725,000 per year budget for 2 years from the beginning of January 2025 through the end of December 2026. I have provided for you Table A, which includes the 9 agencies and their locations. They represent the state pretty well from top to bottom. Focused almost right down the middle. Vanderburgh County and Evansville, Indiana happen to be home with 2 of those agencies, namely CAPE, the Community Action Program of Evansville and Vanderburgh County, as well as HOPE of Evansville. And at this point, I'll pause and ask if there are any questions.
Questions?
Just have a couple minor questions. You've got a good spread of organizations, but I also noticed that there's probably some weakness in the northeast part of the state of Indiana, Fort Wayne, and especially the southeastern part of Indiana, which does not have one large community. I'm sensitive to that just because I'm from there. But what things might we be thinking about in the future to help alleviate some of that?
I appreciate the question. We do have additional funds in the whole program budget for the onboarding and training of additional agencies. And I do have Fort Wayne targeted as a very likely home of maybe the next agency.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
You also, regardless of location where the household's located, they still have access to the services, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Hearing no more questions, we will hear your resolution.
Certainly. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approves service contracts funded by program income from the Hardest Hit Fund with 9 agencies set forth in Table A in an aggregate amount of $725,000 per year for 2 years for January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2026, not to exceed $1,450,000.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mike Schottenheimer.
Andy Place second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Grywey.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Please welcome Jim Flatford, who will present the Emergency Solutions Grant Fiscal Year 2024-2025 allocations memo.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Jim Flatford, the manager of ESG and TANF program, here with a resolution on emergency solutions grant. This grant's a federally funded grant administered through HUD. It funds 3 categories of activities: shelter, street outreach, and rapid rehousing, homeless prevention. IHCDA has a total of $3,768,646.80 to award for the 2024-25 program year. We ran an application phase late summer into fall. Each of those responses was reviewed utilizing a scoring tool that was built into the application, assigned points based on board of director involvement, financial management, program services, and funding determinations were made using an allocation formula that was informed by that application score. We had 69 applications or applicant organizations submit applications for 96 projects. And those are reflected in Exhibit A, along with a map on Exhibit B. I'll stop there for any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, please continue.
So the resolution, staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding an allocation of 2024-25 program year emergency solutions grant funds in an aggregate not to exceed $2,256,800 for shelter program, $110,000 for outreach program, and $1,401,846.80 for the rapid rehousing homeless prevention to the organizations as set forth in Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Andy Place motion for approval.
Chad Grywey second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer,
I will note Aurora and Echo are on, and we were with them, Jake and I, this morning at 6 a.m. So yes, my vote's yes.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Grywey,
Aye.
and Valentine, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Please welcome Laura Drasick, who will now present the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF Rapid Rehousing and Homeless Prevention Open Round Funding 2024 memo.
Hello,
Yes, I do.
Board. My name is Laura Drasick. I am the TANF Grants Analyst on the Community Services Team at IHCDA. The memo I'm presenting for you today outlines the second round of the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, Short-Term Rapid Rehousing, and Homeless Prevention Funds. These funds can be utilized to provide eligible families who are either experiencing homelessness or either at risk of homelessness with short-term rental and utility assistance, along with housing stability and case management services. The first round of TANF funding was approved by the board back in June of 2024 and was specifically limited to emergency solution grant recipients. This second round of funding was available for all nonprofits in the state of Indiana. Applications for this round of funding were reviewed using a scoring tool based on program services, coordination, financial management, and board of directors involvement. From there, 14 applicants listed in Exhibit A met the scoring threshold and are recommended to receive TANF funding with a total that does not exceed $3,978,646 $639.50. Additionally, you have Exhibit B, which provides you with a visual map of all the counties that could possibly be served in this second round of TANF funding. Any questions?
I just have one, just out of curiosity. Obviously, you see some that are fully funded, and you see some that are partially.
Yeah.
And just rationale.
Yeah, there was the final award amount was determined by the average final score, the amount requested, and then having funds available to go back to the first round, the ESG round of funding, and then to hopefully available maybe fund some recipients that didn't receive funding in that first round, the ESG round of funding. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to follow it, but I think I got it.
Any other questions? All right, we'll hear your resolution.
Great. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding an allocation of TANF rapid rehousing and homeless prevention funds for the 2024-25 program year in an aggregate amount not to exceed $3,978,639.50 to the organizations as set forth in Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
You have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Andy
Daniel Elliott
place
makes the-
motion for approval.
I'll do the second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella.
Aye.
Daniel Elliott.
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Chad Greiwe.
Aye.
And Valentine, aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Laura. Next up, please welcome Emily Castro, who will present the non-competitive round / 4% tax credits Arbors of South Town Square memo.
Hello, good morning, board. I'm presenting one recommendation for funding today from the 2025 AB non-competitive bond round. This applicant is requesting tax exempt multifamily bond volume, 4% low income housing tax credits, and a development fund loan. Arbors of South Town Square Apartments is the rehabilitation and preservation of a 212 unit development in Fort Wayne proposed by Allied Real Estate Partners. The total development cost is approximately $39 million. This age-restricted development will serve households at the 50% and 60% area median income levels. This application has undergone our due diligence process and meets all threshold requirements and our minimum required score. Staff recommends the allocation of $19,852,727 in bond volume, $1,741,459 in annual LIHTC, and a $500,000 development fund loan to Arbors Indiana LLC for Arbors of South Town Square. And I will now take any questions.
Questions? Seeing none, we will hear your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $19,852,727 in bond volume, $1,741,459 in annual LIHTC, and a $500,000 development fund loan to Arbors Indiana LLC for Arbors of South Town Square, according to the terms of the 2025 AB application round as recommended by staff.
All right, we have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Andy
So
place
moved by
motion for approval.
Take Andy's motion and Daniel will count as the second. Thank you. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella.
Aye.
Daniel Elliott.
Aye.
Michael Schottmeyer.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Chad Greiwe.
Aye.
And Valentine, aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Please welcome Zach Gross, who will now present the Home Tenant-Based Rental Assistance and Home American Rescue Plan Supportive Services Award Recommendations memo. That was the longest one.
Yes, and it'll also have two resolutions, so
That's, yeah. you're gonna
So,
make a new
it'll be a
report.
longer memo as well. Thank you and good morning, board. Yeah, so there are two resolutions related to this memo. This is for our home tenant-based rental assistance program funds for 2024. This is the tenant-based rental assistance component of the federal home program. IHCDA uses this tenant-based rental assistance component to serve households who were formerly incarcerated. And this program can provide those households with rental assistance, security deposit assistance, and utility deposit assistance. And that fund or that assistance can last up to 2 years for those households. To be eligible, a person has to be exiting a corrections system, so either state or local or federal, within 6 months and have nowhere to go upon exit, or they have to be experiencing homelessness and have a history of incarceration. In addition to the rental assistance funding through the TPRA program, IHCDA has available home ARP funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to pay for supportive services for those households. So those services can include things like case management, childcare, education, employment assistance, job training, things that are much needed to set them up for success. So IHCDA put out an RFQ for this, as we do every year, and have 1.3 million available to award in home unit-based rental assistance, and 400,000 available for allocation in home ARP services. So we received, I think, 9 applications for funding, and are recommending 5 of those be awarded. The ones that we are not recommending are based on the score. They just did not score, as well as the ones who we are recommending based on the criteria set forth in the RFQ. And then we had a few of those who also failed the threshold review. And then for the applicants who selected to request home ARP services, we are recommending that they receive the full amount of the request for all of the applicants who requested that, which would be 4 of those that we're recommending, 4 of the 5. So I will pause there for a question.
Questions? Seeing none, we will hear your first resolution.
Okay. Staff respectfully requests that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve an aggregate award of home tenant-based rental assistance funding in the amount of $1,290,713.32 to the 5 organizations set forth in Table A as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Mike Schotmeyer, move for approval.
Second.
Andy Place, second.
You're right. Andy, you and I are like in sync every time.
Sorry.
That's all right.
No, we'll
No.
let Andy do this.
Excellent. I will call the roll. Mark Pascarella.
Aye.
Daniel Elliott.
Aye.
Michael Schotmeyer.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Chad Breiwe.
Aye.
And Valentine, aye. Motion carries. We'll now hear your second resolution.
Staff respectfully requests that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve an aggregate award of Home American Rescue Plan supportive services funding in the amount of $400,000 to the 4 organizations set forth in Table C as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Mike Schotmeyer, would note Aurora once again has been on many of these today, based here in Evansville, serving Southwest Indiana. So I make the motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
Mark Pascarella, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella.
Aye.
Daniel Elliott.
Aye.
Michael Schotmeyer.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Chad Breiwe.
Aye.
And Valentine, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please welcome Matt Rayburn, who will present the Development of Rental Housing for Youth Exiting Foster Care New Hope Services Memo.
Excellent. Thank you. Good morning, board. Pleased to be here this morning to recommend the 3rd development under this special initiative. You may recall Jerry Bain on my team presented the first 2 last month. I'll give a quick background, but I know she gave you a much more detailed overview of this program last month, so I'll keep it brief. But at a high level, in the 2023 biennial budget, the General Assembly passed a $5 million one-time line item to IHCDA that they called a homeless prevention grant. And this was intended to create programs that seek to prevent homelessness among vulnerable populations, specifically youth exiting foster care. So in conjunction with the Department of Child Services, IHCDA designed a program that would identify nonprofit housing developers to build small rental developments that would serve youth exiting foster care to provide affordable rental housing for those individuals with wraparound supportive services for the youth. In November of last year, IHCDA and DCS worked together to bring together teams. We hosted an informational session and a networking event to connect kind of childcare or youth focused, I should say, service providers with nonprofit housing developers to give them that chance to make connections and come up with concepts. And then this spring, we required those teams to respond to a request for proposals to present their high-level concept. What's the population you're looking to serve? Where are you looking to create the housing? What are the partnerships in place between the developer and the service providers? So kind of a high-level concept. And those conceptual RFP responses were reviewed by IHCDA staff from the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and staff from Department of Child Services. Through that RFP, we selected 4 teams across the state to be eligible to then come in and request the funds. So what we have been doing now on a one-by-one basis is as those teams are ready, they are submitting full funding applications to us with site control, full operational budgets, development budgets, et cetera. So at this time, we have received the 3rd full funding application, and our team has had the chance to review that for eligibility, to review the underwriting of the proposed project. And are happy today to recommend our applicant representing the southern region of the state. So this RFP was broken into regions. That applicant is New Hope Services, Inc. New Hope is a service provider and nonprofit developer based out of Jeffersonville. They have a long track record of working with IHCDA. They are partnering with LifeSpring Health Services, who provides mental, behavioral, and physical health services in Jeffersonville. And those 2 organizations together will be creating a 10-unit development for youth exiting foster care in Jeffersonville. They are requesting the maximum amount of funds, so they are getting the special state money, but IHCDA had committed to match that $5 million of state funds with $5 million of agency funds as well. So they are getting the maximum combination of their portion of that special state funding as well as the IHCDA leveraged funds. So I would be happy to answer any questions about this initiative or this specific project.
Questions? Seeing none?
Wonderful.
We'll hear your resolution.
Excellent, thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the following: an award of homeless prevention grant funding in the amount of $1,250,000 in the form of a grant, an award of development fund in the amount of $625,000 in the form of a grant, and an award of IHCDA general fund in the amount of $625,000 in the form of a grant to New Hope Services, Inc., as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Daniel, I'll motion for approval.
We have a second.
Andy Place, second.
Great timing, guys.
Oh, you got it down there.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Daniel Elliott,
Aye.
Michael Schotmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, Matt. Coming back up, we have Zach Gross, who will present the Home American Rescue Plan update.
I'm back. Yes, so this is an update. That's no action needed on this. You may recall that back in April, the board approved an aggregate of just over $6 million to 20 supportive housing developments to pay for supportive services through the Home ARP program again. And with that, you also approved the creation of 2 wait lists. We had 1 wait list for respondents who we reviewed and scored, and their scores just were lower than the ones that were approved for funding. And then the other wait list, table C, consisted of respondents that had failed our initial threshold review. With that, also approved delegate authority to IHCDA's Deputy Executive Director to approve additional awards under this program based on those wait lists if additional funding became available, because we were anticipating additional funding become available under this program. So we were actually able to award all of the projects on both wait lists. So on the table B, projects were awarded based on their scoring, and then the table C projects were able to cure all the threshold deficiencies and provide the funding to all of those projects as well. So with that, we awarded an additional 9 projects funding. And that brings our total in funding thus far under this program for this purpose to $9,400,882. And like I said, no action needed on this, but I will still accept any questions, of course.
Questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
update. Appreciate it. I do want to thank staff for the maps. You know, I like the maps. I like to see, helps me visualize where the work is happening. So thank you for that. Next up, Executive Director Jacob Sipe will provide an executive update.
Okay, thank you. Just real quick on a couple of things. I mentioned at the last board meeting, we had a partnership with the governor's office and FSSA and IHCDA to administer $10 million of the National Opioid Settlement Funds. And that was to work with 4 not-for-profit organizations to create housing for individuals or households who have a substance use disorder. And so through that process, kind of similar to what Matt just described with the youth transition out of foster care, we use a very similar process. Yesterday, we announced the 4 teams that were selected, and I want to share with the board those 4 teams and where they're located. And the other unique thing about this, because this funding is flexible, we're using 4 different housing models for these developments so that they can design the housing and provide the services that are most appropriate at the local level. So we empowered these local not-for-profits and their service providers to design their own housing program. So the first one is out of Terre Haute called Next Step Foundation, and that will be transitional housing. Encompass Healthcare is a level 2 recovery housing, and it'll be based in Brookville. And then the third team is out of Fort Wayne, the YWCA of Northeast Indiana. And then in Indianapolis, Volunteers of America, who's hosting us today, will have a recovery housing level 3. I forgot to mention on the development in Northwest Indiana and Fort Wayne, that will be the permanent supportive housing model that they will use. So it is exciting to see the different types of housing models that are out there so that we can design and provide services for folks at where they are in their recovery process. So I do want to thank the governor's office, FSSA, specifically also Doug Hunsiker and his team for pulling this together. Matt and Zach, they did just a great job of I think we had 19 applications that came in. So the demand, the interest, we hosted an event, and boy, we were just overwhelmed with the number of people that came out who were interested across our state that are doing great work. So we're excited about these 4 teams and the impact that they're going to have across our state. So we'll be bringing, similar to the way we're doing with the youth transition out of foster care, we'll be working hand in hand with these 4 organizations as they pull the financing together to build their development. And we'll be taking each of those to the board for final approval on the actual funding amount. So I think today you probably saw IHCDA's board of directors and our lieutenant governor as chair of the board. You know, this is an active board. We accomplished a lot today. I don't know if you can take a step back and really appreciate the work that what we have funded today and what we awarded. It's highly impactful in all of our communities. The housing stability, I think, is probably the theme with this board meeting. And with that, I just want to recognize our Lieutenant Governor, Suzanne Crouch. She has been a great leader at IHCDA in these board meetings. She's usually here. I know she probably wants to be here. I know she wants to be here, but she has been actively engaged, challenging myself and our team to really think about housing and how it connects to healthcare. And that has been a theme that you probably have seen over the last 8 years. And I think today is probably the best example of any board meeting that we had that really exemplifies housing and how it's connected to our healthcare through housing stability. And so with that, I just want to recognize our Lieutenant Governor, Suzanne Crouch, because this is her last board meeting in her leadership role. So we just have a little token of appreciation for her. This was done by I want to thank Brian for helping pull this together.
Loved it.
This was done by an Indiana artist, a glass blower, who created this with her famous red glasses. So that's all here. So, and I present this to you so you can give this to
Yeah.
her
Thank you.
when you have a chance to see her. So.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think too, you don't see the work you see it, but not everyone sees the work she does behind the scenes and, you know, prodding Jake along on work that might not have always been what we thought we would tackle. So much appreciated. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
The last thing, the next board meeting is January 23rd at 10 a.m. at IHCDA on the 8th floor. So just a reminder for our board members that the next one will be in Indianapolis. So at IHCDA. So with that, Madam Chair, just turn it back to you. Thank you for your leadership as well. So.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the board?
I'll just say from, I'm sure I speak for all the board members outside the executive team, echo the same thing for the Lieutenant Governor. She has been a tremendous leader, not only for the state, but specifically also for this organization. So I appreciate being part of her leadership team on this board. And so I just wanted to be recognized here publicly and in the board minutes. I think we all stand and applaud for it.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Let me ditto the same.
And I actually want to say something because Ann, you usually are the one here when she can't be here. And I want to thank you for your leadership and how well you have been able to represent not only Lieutenant Governor, but this board. So thank you for all the hard work you've done.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you. Thank you. John Von Arts from the back, yes.
Excuse me.
Yes, would you like to add?
I just wanted to mention that we have an opportunity to provide a tour of our facility for anyone interested. We'll have two groups. We have some refreshments, and we just thank you again for being here.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Seeing no other business to come before the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned as of 10:57. Thank you.